Welcome back to Flanks06 channel. Today I have a special unboxing for you guys here. This is the Tanares RPG white box slipcase all in pledge here from Tanares RPG. It's been a long ride, guys, but we're finally here and I'm excited to get through all of this. So let's just kind of get through it. Just as a note, I already took off the plastic wrapping off of all the tops, but I haven't opened a single thing yet. So we'll get there as we go, and let's just kind of move things in as they are right here. So starting here with the Emperor's Private Art Collection. This is a book here that basically is just giving you a lot of art. It's really just an art book. So you can see, you know, you have like long format type of characters. In fact, this one's actually Becca. If you guys are familiar with Becca Scott, this character here was based after her. We have Baron there. We have this pirate guy. This is one of the, I believe, the spy lords there. There's a commander. So we got tons and tons of different hero characters. Monster characters. As we get kind of further in here, you'll see some of these plenty. I mean, we have tons of heroes, but here you go. Here's a monster, specifically the Grimgut, the Goblin Soul Trapper. And then you can see even Golug's there. We have Haran, the Shapeshifter, Lang, the Challenger. And then Inga, the legendary golem. So just tons and tons of characters. Like I said, this is purely an art book. So for those people that really want to be able to immerse their players within the world of Tanares and plenty of those characters in there, this is going to be the book for you. Man, this thing is actually, it's a lot thicker than I thought. So we even have some locations, and those are all like wide shots here. If you guys are familiar with Tanares Adventures, then you should be familiar with a lot of this art, because that's basically where all of this art kind of originated. Now there's plenty of art that's new for the RPG, and that was kind of added in, and that's actually why both products are pretty much enhanced by both of those campaigns, because we're able to build twice as much art as we would be able to do with a, you know, like a single campaign. So lots and lots going on here, and basically, you know, your last page is, you know, just the notes there, and pretty much it. And then there's even a little save, like bookmark thing in here, it looks like. So you can kind of throw this into what maybe a certain section when you're playing your game, and pull open this page here, because you want to use this character, you know, in your game, and just close it up and then be able to quickly reference it later. So that is the Emperor's Private Art Collection. This was also like a reward that was included for free in the all-in. All right, so next up here, let's, we're probably saving the books for last, because I know a lot of people do the books first. So the dice kit mini game here, but we got lots of dice in here for playing RPGs or just using however you would like to use them. But here you go. Showing there, we have what is this, 6, 7 right here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16 other dice here that you're going to be able to use. In fact, we even have some for the new classes that are represented by the hit dice of like our characters, and then you also have the ones that are used for the standard classes in D&D. So like, for example, this is, I believe this is like the Dragon Blade dice right here, kind of this orangish, it actually almost looks like it's a stone. It's definitely not a stone, I'll tell you that, but it almost looks like stone, and then you have that gold inlay there. Let's look at these penumbral dice, which I think is really what gets people excited. So you kind of look, and it just kind of goes starry there with all kinds of colors. There is a gold exterior inlay there, so you can see you know, the faces of your dice pretty easily. I do think it's probably a little easier on like this blue section, because I got like a big bluish purple section, and then just kind of a pinkish purpley section here. So like looking on this one, that one's, you know, a 2, so you can see it. Maybe it's a little harder to see specifically on like that side, but overall I still think it's probably, you know, good enough to be able to see. It is a pretty dice there for sure. And let's just kind of look at the others. These are basically going to provide you, right, every kind of dice you could need there. So then you got your D6 here, of course. We then have D12. I actually do play some RPGs, but I don't play quite as much like 5e. But now that I, of course, have this set here, probably much more likely to kind of start trying that here. So now we have a D4 here with a pyramid, lots of different colors within there. And it's a little pokey, so be careful with that one. And should just fit right back in that puppy. Boom. All right, this one right here is a D10. I know that one. And also very pretty. It's got little section of blue and then quite a bit of the pink. So it looks kind of like they put like a little blob of that blue mixed in there. And we'll just kind of quickly go through these here. Well, we already did that one. Show these off. Here's your D100, D8. And then we got all these other classes here. Don't tell me to, you know, name off all of them, because I definitely would not know. But you got hit dice, you know, for all of your existing 5e classes that you can use there. So with, you know, their kind of class symbol there on the dice for you. So anyway, that is the Penumbral die kit here. The only other thing that it includes here is these cards, which will be used as kind of like a little, I believe it's like a betting game that you can kind of do as like a little side, you know, fun thing here. Anyway, so here we go. You got a cleave attack by your barbarian, jack of all trades. So it says use an ability of your choice from one of your reserve heroes. You deal -2 in this battle. Inspire courage. If you win, heal 2 HP of 2 heroes, battle and or reserve. Then if you lose the battle, the next hero will use both its abilities and act first, except against the rogue abilities. Okay, interesting. So cleric, dragon blade, that's our new class. We got druid. Hey, I guess great thing for me is now that they have all the symbols of the classes on here, I'll be doing a much better job of saying which class is which. Fighter, Mad Walker there, which is our new class. The Monk, the Paladin, the Ranger, the Redeemer, which is our new class as well. The Rogue, the Sorcerer, the Warlock, the Wizard, and then looks like here is the rules. There's a setup, a gameplay, and 2 gameplay cards. Arena Battles is a strategic duel between 2 players, each commanding a team of 4 unique characters picked from a diverse roster, including warriors, mages, rogues, and more. Each character has a distinct abilities and varying levels of hit points determined by dice rolls. Your mission, outwit, outplay, and outlast your opponent, aiming to be the last player with characters standing in the battles for glory on the arenas of Tanares. Okay, so yeah, there's some rules here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a game end. So it looks like it's probably pretty quick, easy type of game to kind of just throw in, give your players something fun to do. But that is the Tanares Penumbral Dice kit. So lots of dice, little fun card game. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Let's do the power cards next. Move these over here. So the power cards, basically 5e Wizards of the Coast offers similar product for their classes. Basically what it is just like the abilities that you can do that you can get out of like your books, but instead of having to open that book every single time, you get a deck of cards. So for example, we got the Mad Walker here, and I can already tell you, I know from reading the book enough who has the big deck of cards. So Mad Walker there with kind of a normal, smaller sized deck here, and here's gonna be your big boy. The Elementalist gets a big fat deck of cards because the Elementalist has a lot of skills and abilities that they're going to be able to use. So we'll crack these open here in a second. Then we have the Redeemer. That is one of our new classes as well. And then the last being the Dragonblade, who has, between the Redeemer and Dragonblade, it looks like probably about the same size. It's the Mad Walker that seems to have the smallest. And then you'll see there's cool art here of some of the different heroes that are the classes. Here's Tyshin's Bad Boy, Gaknak there, who is a Dragonblade, very much fitting there. So let's jump into one of, maybe two of these decks. I don't want to do all of them, so you can kind of, figure it out for yourself. But we'll crack one of the, at least two. We'll do two, because you want to see like some of the different things. So bioluminescent secretion. So the Mad Walker here is all about the ability to turn into penumbral creatures, gaining insanity, losing their kind of mind, which is an interesting idea. I guess it'll be, I would say, you're going to want to put this with a player that maybe is a little more experienced and is more of a role-playing type of person, because there's one aspect of being able to, just play the character, but, in any RPG, right, it's not just about playing a character, it's about role-playing that character. And man, this is a lot harder than I thought that was going to be. All right, getting it here. So if you have a Mad Walker here, right, they're kind of like gaining insanity points is what they call it. And you're going to want to be able to have somebody that can kind of manage that. So here is Eye of the Augury. Here, 5 insanity points, level 5, 5th level, Nightmare's Augury Trail. As an action, you can close your eyes and they merge, becoming a large eye in the center of your face. For 1 minute, you have true sight, and you can use bonus action to take the dodge or disengage action. During the duration, you can use an action to focus your eye on a creature you can see within 40 feet. The target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or suffer the effects of the confusion spell. Upon taking this action, the aberrant mutation ends. All right, so we're going to quickly look through some other ones. So we saw that. Dark Energy, Elastic Limbs, Penumbral Echoes, Penumbral Gaze, Space Distortion, Horrid Tentacle, Noxious Attack, Shadow Web, Mind Slash. So there's different, there's ones that are more like spidery based, then there's ones that are kind of more different levels of penumbral monsters. Penumbral Leap, Warped Physique, 2 insanity points, Shadow Clones, Body Shaping, Amphibious Skin, Venom Splash, Pain Toxin, Mind Drain. So lots of cool abilities here. Basically, like I said, these are all just, cards written here. Same thing that's in the books, but now you have a card in front of you and instead of needing to, reference specifically the book every single time you're trying to look up something about your character, you're already ready to go with your power cards. So that is the Mad Walker deck, which is, like I said, looks to be the smallest deck out of the newest ones. And then let's quickly look. We're going to do real quick because this would take a long time if I went after every single card that's in there. Oh man, this one is tough. There we go. Whoo! So it's too big. It's so big that you need 2 plastic wrappings to do all the cards of the Elementalist here. So you have a lot to do. Like I said, we're not going to hit it all. That's going to take way too long. But I will just show some of the cards here. And then we will close up and we'll move to the next reward. So it's great to finally see this. Like I said, I don't usually play a lot of 5e, but I am pretty interested now to be able to do it. And I kind of just been waiting for that. Wow, I mutilated that plastic there. That's okay, still got it. That's the important part. All right. And yeah, that is Odalin Dungeons of Doom in the background there. I received the sample a little bit last week, and so now it's hanging out here as I continue to do more videos and continue to play the game myself because I've only gotten to play it a small amount. All right, ability boost, 2nd level fire spell, absorb spell, 8th level water spell. So right, the Elementalist here is all tied to the different, obviously in the name, right? The elements of nature. Right, so you have fire, you have water spells, you have air spells, you have earth spells, and basically, yeah, all of your abilities are mixes of those. So you got your casting time, your range, duration, any components, and then tells you how to use it, of course, at any higher levels. And then we even have plant spells too. So there's plant spells in there. Everything of the world, calm mind, at one circle of protection, which is actually pretty cool. This one here, right, is also a name of the passive ability by the tanks. So it's kind of interesting that they reuse that there. But tons and tons of spells that they created for the Elementalists. This is another class that I'd say, you may want someone that's already played, Wizard, Sorcerer, or something like that previously in D&D, or 5e, and are familiar with all of this just because there is a lot of spells. And here's a cantrip here, Elemental Surge. If they're not familiar with any of this, the more air spells, then they may be a little overwhelmed, kind of like I am, honestly, because there is just a crazy, crazy amount of cards. My God. Yeah, they really, really outdid themselves. When you look in the book, you're like, wow, this is a lot of spells. I think it's even more real once you get this big deck of cards here like this. And you have it in your hand. So everything, yeah, seems to be air, water, earth, fire, and then plant seems to be the other one. Life synchronization, lightning tunnel. Oh, there's even lightning spells. Okay, but anyway, that is the Elementalist deck. That's only half of the Elementalist deck. I honestly just don't even have enough time for me to show you every single card in there. But like I said, there's another big fat deck of cards for you to dig into. If you're a huge RPG person and love having lots of spells, Elementalist is going to be your class to play. Okay, guys, so that is the power decks. I'm just going to move these off to the side so it's a little easier. Tons of cards there, and we'll move on to the next thing, the GM-less pack. This is probably one of the rewards here that I get the most questions on. And I wish I could tell you I was an expert in this one as well. you know, as you guys know, right, I know a lot about the board games. I've spent, you know, countless hours playing the game. The RPG I haven't had as much time with, but I have looked into the GMless pack some, so you should be aware. But basically what this is, what this product is, it's a way for you to play the game, the adventure of In the Realms of Madness. And you see here, so we crack this open. You can see on the top camera, but you get the Adventures in the Realms of Madness GMless book here. So this book is as thick, basically, as like the campaign book in Tanares was. And it's very much like the Tanares book in the way that, so, you know, we have the credits of stuff at the beginning, but the beginning of this kind of explains to you generally how the GMless deck works, but it's pretty much a mix of using different cards that are provided in here. So there's 2 different decks of these big cards, and these are different NPCs, and they're different like villains and things that you'll face in the adventure. And then there's these fact cards. So the important thing is you're going to have basically like an alignment that your characters will have. And the idea is you will use these cards and some of these basic rule sets to be able to play that whole adventure. You could play this by yourself. You could play this with a party of people and basically not need, you know, a GM to play the game. And like I said, it works exactly like Tanares did. So you're going to read a section in the book, and then it will say something like, okay, A, +1 evil. Your injuries are too severe. Continue the journey to Hero's Rise, relying on the wagon guards to fend off the goblins. Go to O2. Or option B, the good route. And you're going to be modifying that alignment as your characters progress. Ask the wagoneer to halt the wagon so that you can help defeat the goblins. You can deal with your wounds when you arrive in town. Go to 03, right? So then it will change. Then, very much like Tanares, right, when you get to battle sections like this one, and this is, by the way, this is not like super secret type stuff. This is pretty much the same information we had like in the sample. So here's like the map here, and then this will tell you the cards to use. So I'll pull this up here. So I only have like this commoner one, but if you look on the back, here's like number 72. So very much like Tanares, you're going to set up your map like this, right, with different, you know, obviously miniatures, but you can lay out your cards on the side to be able to track what that character does. There's sometimes special combat rules, but basically this thing is filled with an absolute crazy amount of story, different things you can go through, right? I'm not going to crack into all of the book because if you are interested in running this adventure, you know, as your own set, right, then I don't want to, you know, secretly reveal all of that too. But I will open up at least one of the decks of cards here so you guys can see. So let's go commoner. I think I think I could be wrong, but I think it was 7. So like Goblin Infiltrator here, right? Gives you the armor class, HP, speed, senses, initiative, and there's like a initiative deck basically or initiative that you'll build. Nimble Escape. So start of the turn, set the creature's actions. The first it can use, consider reach and movement. And so I think you'll basically alternate between using these depending on where your character is, but be either using like the short bow, if not melee, using the scimitar if in melee, and then after setting, the creature moves only necessary to use the action against the nearest enemy or ally. If none is possible, dash to the nearest enemy. So it kind of gives you an idea there. There's also an image there on the back. And this is basically, right, if you want to use them as like, well, I mean, it gives you their information, but even like as a NPC, right? So it gives their basic stats, skills, language, and then their XP. But anyway, so that gives you a quick idea of how this should work, and this gets flipped that way. I guess I could do maybe the fact cards real fast as well, just to try to fill in some more gaps. Like I said, it's at the beginning of this book with the instructions that tells you how to play. But basically, you have combat cards here, which are these ones. And so there's different things that can happen, right, based on what you're rolling. So wizards, ward, warriors, rally, sorcerers, surge, rogues, gambit. So different things can happen with your combat cards. And then the facts are basically used more in like that role-playing part of the game. So these are for the adventurers. And I think those are modifications, because you should be able to like use, you know, some of your abilities, right? And then the combat card of the villains, and it's basically just like modifiers on top of what can happen like with the villains. I love that art, by the way. I kind of wish that this guy here was a NPC or maybe a playable character in like Tanares or something, but you got to ask Alex about that. So the rest of these are fact cards here. Now these are specifically tied to different things like in the adventure. So like fact 1, and this will be tied to like the book, you know, the wagons were stolen. So kind of giving you an idea of what's to come. 2 sets of, oh God, facts there. And what's even better about this is, so we sent you guys all sleeves before, right? That maybe many of you know or don't remember, but some people, you know, had already used all of their sleeves, or maybe they used them for something else. Well, we decided to provide you guys sleeves for the GMless pack basically only, right? So this here will fit the big cards, and then so in your gold size, and then over here this will fit all of your fact cards. So that should give you enough to sleeve all of that, and that's just because I think we weren't confident that we would be able to, you know, in the RPG, some people didn't have everything, or they used too many of the board on the board game and then didn't have enough, or they wouldn't have enough for the RPG, but they had paid for everything. So that is why we offered. But here is the GMless pack. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one there. We only have 2 rewards left, and I'm going to need to probably move this one out of the way here for a second, because this one takes up a lot of room. So this is the premium map pack. And I'll just pull one off the top here. But basically, if you have this, right, this sets up all your maps from the different adventures in the Realms of Madness book. So you lay that out. Hopefully you can see this on my screen, my table here, but this shows you exactly, right, you got your map, you set up your NPCs, and it's all just foldable. It's pretty thick. I'd say this is probably a little thicker than even, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is actually even thicker than like the poster map in Tanares Adventures was. So this should be more durable, I believe, than even that one was. But it's nice and thick, lots of great color here. You got the grid lines already in there, and then for any sections where you can't go, for example, right here, then there's no grids, and then of course you can still kind of hide in the bushes and stuff if you're going to play that way. But yeah, so double-sided. So that first part's from like the first sample. I know this part comes like near the end of the sample. I did a video a long time ago playing through the sample. There's multiple videos actually, and so you could see in that one us kind of battling out. The funny thing too is now that I look at this map, I remember this map that these ships were actually closer. So they actually changed the map some, because previously in that sample, my character jumped from this mast to this mast and was luckily made it to the other side to kind of jump into battle. I was umbolo on that one. It was a lot of fun. Excited to play again. Maybe we can do some playthrough videos. Probably won't play through, the entire adventure, but maybe a couple sessions or one shot or something like that. If you're interested in doing that, definitely let me know. We have a lot of, great community people that would like to, do that stuff. It's just got to have the people willing to do it. All right, so that is the map, and I'm not going to go through all of these either, just because we only have so much time. But right here is, I believe, one of the, once you get to the main like manor or something, there's like these different rooms and things that you're going to explore in the adventure. So there's two different sides. Oh, don't look at that. So there is some different thing. Man, I always tell my kid not to fold these incorrect, because then it like bends things wrong. And look at me, I'm doing the exact same thing I tell him not to do. All right, and then maybe just a couple more of these. I like this one a little bit better because it's got like this lightning orb thing on there. All right, so big, it's almost like a special like dungeon, like altar lightning room. Ooh, and there's even like saw blades and stuff on this, and some other gears and some walls to kind of hide behind. You got some things over here to kind of mess with. And then on the other side is like this labyrinth room. So a lot to go through there with the premium map pack. So that is 3, 4, I believe it should be 12, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes. So there is a lot to go through here. Like I said, I'm not going to show all of it. Ooh, tentacles. Who doesn't love those tentacles? But definitely check that out. Hopefully you guys like this one. Just a sneak peek there. Just to kind of give you an idea. If you didn't get any of these maps, I think it's probably a good thing to remember. So, okay, let me mention two things. One, shipping is still in process at the time of this video. We're sending out, well, not us, but Bridge in the US and other fulfillment partners are sending out the pre-packed items first. So anything that was pre-packed, like this one, I didn't show the box, but basically it's just a single square box. And that one, contained all of the all-in. So it's already pre-packed. Now, if you bought something individually, like let's say you bought just this by itself, or you bought the black slipcase by itself or something, that would come separately, because they can get this, pre-packed box out very quickly. They just slap a label, boom, it's ready to go. Versus if you have an order that has, maybe one or a couple little items there, then, well, actually, I think even the single items, they're trying to get those out as well. But if it's like, multiple things, like maybe some other, board game things or whatever, then it's, would take a little bit longer. They have to pack and make sure that it's correct before they send it to you. All right, so let's look here at the RPG book. There we go. So if you see, hopefully, on the screen there, it is holographic eye. I saw this eye a long time ago. And it's actually kind of cool because it's not even, well, I mean, this whole thing, it's like basically like a sticker on top of it. This whole thing is holographic, but the eye right there is that dragon opening and closing its eye. And then you have basically, this is like our elder dragon, pretty much back there, and kind of almost like the logo of the company, really. But here we go. We're opening the main box now, and even kind of looking in here, right? You can see that there is like this, treasure room inside there, because that's what this is. So you got a 3-panel GM screen here, with the art on that side. And then on this side here, this provides, basically most of the information that you're going to need. Of course, you're going to need to reference the books or official source material for any other information. But we have actions, difficulty classes, armor classes, temporary hit points, skills from abilities, conditions, exhaustion effects, foods, drinks, travel pace, celestial dominion, which is actually probably something specific to us, right? So it's got like Tamara's light and Baron's vigil. Then there's even the planar traits, which are also another thing that's specific to us, with the penumbral plane, the nightmarish landscapes. While within the penumbral plane, all attempts to track, locate, or orient oneself impose a disadvantage on respective skill checks. And then you got some other cool art there. But this is the screen here for your DM to be able to set up. Of course, if you have your own, you could use that as well. But this one's, has some information that's specific to Tanares RPG. So if you're going to be playing in the world of Tanares, I suggest you use this one. All right, we're going to get to the books here in a second. Let's get to the map. And we'll just put this guy over here. Hopefully you guys can see this. So if you've been following the campaign in the world for a while, you probably already know what this map is. But this guy here is the Imperial map. So the biggest city basically in the world of Tanares. This is, you have the Imperial Palace here. You have the multiple arenas. The Arena of Fate is probably one of the ones many people are familiar with, because that's where a lot of the main big decisions are decided in the Arena of Fate, such as, big disputes, right, that occur. We have lots of streets. The names and things actually have changed from the sample. So if you were using the sample previously, it's basically no longer accurate. Now the digital rewards did include this, so you should be able to, have your own digital version of the map here as well. And then on the other side, for many of my Tanares Tanares board game friends, you should be pretty familiar with this one. It is different. It's not exactly the same. There's some different cities, and there's different designations. You even see some about the Storm Islands. So the Storm Islands, right, is where a lot of the Kemet originally came from. Good thing to note about Tanares and Tanares RPG, is that the timeline basically of the products is Arena the contest happens earlier on, and then about, I believe it's only like a few months, 3 to 6 months or so after the events of Arena the contest, which is also, by the way, in Tanares Ultimate called the Wasteland Expedition. That one is all, occurring over a few like months or something, and then about a few, and actually it could be a couple weeks, but anyway, it's a very short period of time. And then it's about a few months after that is the events of Tanares Adventures, which occurs over 6 weeks. And then that concludes that story. And then we kind of jump forward. I believe it is about 30 years later. So there's some things that occur at the end of Tanares Adventures that kind of changes some of the the factions and things of the world. I don't want to reveal too much if you're not familiar with that. I kind of want you to be able to explore that for yourself. But that is the map there. All right, let's get into the main books here. As you see on the screen here, we should have the Player's Guide to Tanares, Adventure in the Realms of Madness, and the campaign source book there. So we're going to start off here with the Player's Guide, which is probably the most fundamental book, I'd say, for playing Tanares RPG. So you got a beautiful cover here of Imperial, which is one of the hero characters from Tanares Adventures. She's a bruiser there. So we got this intro page. And if you've seen the the digitals, obviously this is exactly the same, right? Just now in that physical version here. So starting off, we have some quick overview, and then we go into the races of Tanares. So there's some about the different elves that are in Tanares, including that the Kemet are basically a variation there. Then we're getting into the humans. Then we get into like the Dragonborn, gnomes. A lot of these, right, are familiar races from the 5e source material. But now we have a unique race here, the Curus, who are basically like a angelic type of people. In the board game, you actually can upgrade them with wings, and maybe if you order just the miniatures, then you should already have that. But anyway, they're kind of this angelic species there that actually has two different souls, which is a unique thing. So you can basically have two different types of lives within the same character's body. So pretty interesting. They're also one of the older races in the world of Tanares, at least speaking lore-wise. Then we have the Gloom Folk here, who is the next unique race of Tanares. So the Gloom Folk are a species of people that are humanoid on top with a scorpion body on the bottom. Basically, they are people that have been living in the penumbral plane now permanently from, I believe, some things that have happened to them a long time ago, and they have been transformed by the penumbral plane. There is basically a certain area where they've been able to create a refuge to prevent the influences of the penumbral plane, basically destroying their mental capacity. So that is the Gloomfolk. Then we have the Soulborn here, who are reborn with past life memories and cultural knowledge. The Soulborns are expert traders and diplomats, rich in wealth and wisdom from many different lifetimes. So here is the Soulborn that you can play, also as another unique race here in Tanares RPG. And now we have the last one, the Timaku, who are very intelligent race of people who have, in fact, I think it's like that they don't even have ears, but they're also pacifists. So standing tall and robust, the Timaku are pacifists, intellectuals who favor logic over emotions. They excel in math, engineering, creating remarkable inventions. In fact, I think one of the things that they get to do is have like a special tool or something, and like one of them is basically like a robot that can kind of follow you around. So cool things there. They also kind of get an alignment of their different skills, ability scores, and they're supposed to be, I think, in balance, equilibrium. The Tamaku learn to harness their individual limits in pursuit of balance. If the difference between your highest and lowest ability scores is no more than 2, you're considered in balance. While in balance, your lowest ability scores are considered 2 points higher, impacting your attacks, saving throws, ability checks, and many other features referencing these ability scores. So cool stuff there with the Tamaku. So that is chapter 1. Moving into chapter 2, we have the new classes and subclasses. So we have the Dragon Blade Here, who is one of the new classes, kind of a heavy armored sort of mage type of class, so they use intelligence and constitution. Then we have the elementalist, who is very elemental based type of wizard, or somebody with magic potential. They are using wisdom and intelligence. And then we have the Mad Walker, which we talked about earlier, somebody that's basically uses their insanity to turn into penumbral monsters. They use dexterity and charisma. And then we have the Redeemers, who basically take a balance between what Tamara brings, which is basically like a light and life, versus Baron's kind of like, well, I don't know if it's exactly, I mean, it's kind of like a darkness and like death side, but he's not necessarily evil. But they take basically a balance of these when they use their abilities. They also use charisma and wisdom. You got a ton of new subclasses here, as you see on this page there. So, 2 for the barbarian, bard, 2 for the cleric, druid, fighter, monk, paladin, ranger, 2 for the ranger, rogue, sorcerer, warlock, wizard. So there is a lot here, and let me just double check, because I don't think it's in print. I think it's just in, so there's awesome art here at the end. Oh, okay, it is here. So the bonus subclass for the fighter here is the Amazon, which is basically an extra subclass that we added. So in fact, it's not listed on this page here, so you're only going to find it in the back of the book, just so you're aware. Then we have the simplified classes. Basically, this is our way of providing an easier way for maybe people that aren't as used to RPGs, or maybe they just want a simple experience. They want something, a brawler, right? He's just basically, sort of like barbarian type character who just goes around, smashes things. They have a reduce skills. And so it's just a lot easier to manage. So it's a great one there. So we're starting off with the Dragon Blade. Great, beautiful powers there. And they can get basically dragon spirits that they can turn into. So there's different dragon forms. And depending on the subclass you can take, you could be like the white, the red. I think there's a black. What else is there? Yeah, so there's a white. And then there's a blue dragon as well. So some good different options, some spells in here. If you've seen the digital version, this is all the same thing. So moving on into the elementalists. We talked about the elementalists there earlier, having a lot of abilities. So fire, lava, earth, plant, water, spirit, air, lightning. So there is all the elementalists for you. And basically they have the ability to kind of use a lot of these different elements, but I think they have a primordial element. So they have a primary element that they're connected to. At the first level, you must choose your primordial element from the following options: air, earth, fire, and water. And then basically that'll kind of influence your character from there. Elemental is looking pretty sick, honestly. I think maybe if I do end up playing a game, maybe I might want to play that. I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted between that and the Mad Walker, which is also pretty awesome. All right. Then next up, and my dog's just, barking like crazy over there. Come here, Luna. Come here. Come on. Come on, baby. There you go. There you go. Just relax. All right. Then you are seeing a huge list of spells that will be possible, and then even fusion spells, which is a mix of like air and water, earth and water, air and fire, different mixes there that you can do. And then basically this is what I was telling you about, right? When I was looking through the digital version of this earlier, I was like, holy crap, there's a lot of spells. So I'm just gonna try to skip through a lot of this, because this is actually a huge section in the book. And we will get next here to the Mad Walker page. So here is our Mad Walker. Ravel there showed on the left. And now you have the different abilities there, fighting madness with madness, the whispers of the penumbral plane, and the different mad walkers of the world. So this kind of tells you basically how you can mutate into different shapes and aspects. Insanity, traits, optional. In fact, there's even optional insanity effects that you can do here. And look at this guy. This guy just looks like freaking nutso. So watch out for that guy in a dark alley because he's lost his freaking mind. Anyway, and then these are some of the cool monstrosities that you can turn into. This is actually a pretty beefy bad guy in the Tanares Adventures campaign, but you can turn into all of these super cool things. And then there is subclass within that for the Mad Walker, just like we have with the other classes. And then you can see all these different aspects of Mad Walker. So lots of options that you can do there. And very kind of like the tentacly guys. And then let's jump, last one, Redeemer here. Redeemers are divine spellcasters chosen by the gods using energy rays to heal or harm. Guided by prophetic dreams, they possess unique charisma and influence to inspire others. They purify negative emotions, bestow blessings, and are embodiments of Tamara and Baron's duality. So pretty much exactly what I said earlier. So you're going to be kind of balancing those, purging corruption, religious conflicts in Tanares, prophetic dreams. And so there's all these like Redeemer dreams that you can have there. I honestly haven't even gotten enough time to look at the Redeemers. I probably need to read through this section because they look like they have some pretty cool things. And there's these different cycles that they have in here, negative rays, positive rays. And so a lot of options. Then there is the different, I think Doombringer is one of the possible subclasses for the Redeemer. And now let's jump here to the simplified classes. So here's your Brawler. Basically, Brawlers are simplified barbarians. They're ideal for new players who are looking for less complexity or to create a more straightforward character without sacrificing effectiveness during play. So good way to keep it pretty simple. I was actually, and here's a pre-made character here for you. So if you're, basically want to just use this, you kind of get it started. I'm actually going to try something just as a test in my house. I am going to see if I can get my kid who is 6 years old and our neighbor kid who I think is 7 years old. And we're going to make a couple characters, do a super simple one shot that's maybe a couple hours. And see if it is possible just to even have them and kind of understand, what this is. Now, obviously, they're not going to be able to read, all of this content on their own. So it may be something to kind of like, walk them through still. But, if you're an adult, right, this should be one that you could handle. So there is the Mage, which is another simplified character there, which is pretty much like I believe it's just like a wizard, but it's the Mage, right? And then you have the Priest, who I believe is basically like a cleric, and also simplified there. And then we have the Scoundrel, who is I believe like a simplified rogue. So lots of options there. And then, of course, we go into all of the different subclasses, Path of Penumbra, Bard, Cleric domains, right? So tons in there. Let's just kind of jump past all the subclasses because there is a lot to even go through there. And then, let's see, so Warlock, Wizard. All right, now we're at the end of this section. Chapter 3, new backgrounds. So there's new different backgrounds you can use for creating your characters. There's the Cartographer. You are the master in making and copying of maps, measuring, conveying the geography of various regions through your extensive studies. Community Leader, Dragon Hunter, Imperial Savant, Occultist, Penumbral Survivor, Undercover, And then different character options here that you can kind of mix it up, new feats. So there's quite a bit in here that you can add in. Here is the spell lists that kind of go along with this. And then jump in some more pages because there's a lot of spells in there. Optional rules, so you can use flying mounts, basically, which I think was some things that people wanted to be able to do. So there's the Tanarian Pegasus, the Griffin, the Hippogriff, so kind of pretty typical characters, Drake, monsters. And then you can even build teams and build like your team character sheet. There's a QR code on this page here. And then you'll get different career points. You're building a team basically to go like into arenas or go on specific missions. I believe it's mostly for like the arenas, just basically is the idea, like, you know, if you were playing the board game, right? And then you have the team feature list. And you can even do, you know, building structures, main hall, the arcane library, the stable, the tavern, observatory, fortress. Yeah, just tons of things. Legendary rewards. There's team feats you can even get. And then there's like heroic marks, which actually kind of correspond to the different classes from Tanares Adventures and Arena of the Contest. And then betting on the arena, and then the extra subclass, and then of course index, and you get a little more pretty art there. So that is the player's guide. I spent a lot of time on that one. We'll try to wrap it up here. So Adventures in the Realms of Madness. Not going to spend a ton of time going through this book, just so we can kind of keep this one still pretty secret for people that want to do that. Now remember, with this book here, the idea is you as the game master, right, are going to be using this. And so like this first section kind of explains some of the world, explains some of the certain characters that will be used, and then explains that adventure structure. So this is an adventure book. So really not for the eyes of your players, unless, you know, maybe there's certain sections you want to show them. But otherwise, I'd say this is mostly just for the GM to use and nobody else. And then, yeah, basically we start off in the chapter 1, Murder in the Ballroom. So you get some plot hooks, you get different monsters, right? A lot of this is what we already saw in that GM list pack earlier, but this is pretty much it there. And, you know, plenty more art and sections, all of this corresponding in that as well. Different NPCs that will be in here in this specific chapter. And then I was just going to show just like the second chapter, and then we'll be done. But, you know, tons of art, right? And then you even see like the different characters. So there's like a murder section, murder mystery. If you played the sample, that's not surprise there. And then chapter 2, the murderer's whereabouts. So you're just going to continue it on there. Lots more as you go through the adventure. I believe there is a total of, is it 11 or 12 chapters? I'm trying to remember right now. Lots of guys here. All right, and then there's appendixes here with NPC stat box that you can use, and also tells you about the different factions of the world. Now this is in the players. Actually, it's in the campaign source book, which we'll get to here in a second. That explains a lot to you. But I think the number of chapters, is 8 chapters. So you're going to go from level 3 to level 11. And then basically by the end of chapter 8, right, your hero should hit level 12. So if you want to, you know, do something prior to kind of warm up everybody, you know, that 1 to level 3 area, that'd be a great way to do that before you do the adventure. And then, you know, if you want to continue on, do your own world, then from there, right, 12 to 20. All right, last book here, the campaign source book. This book here, I would say, is also mostly intended for a GM, but I will say, you know, there's not quite as much of an issue to have your players look at this one as there is the other one, because it doesn't like explain all the story, but it does tell you a lot about the world of Tanares. So this could be a great way for people to kind of read up on some of the different characters, the history of the world. This also includes, you know, about some more about the races, the different regions of the world. So the beginning is kind of this, you know, introduction section, talk about Penumbral Plain, different forces of the world, the governments of the world, religions of the world, dogmas of the world, and some of the evil forces basically that are involved here. And there's actually quite a few, you know, groups there. And then we get into the factions of the world, like the Allied forces, the Arcanum, the Cult of the Shadowing, the Forces of Darkall, which is basically Kemet, Tanarian Empire, which is basically like the remnants of the original empire. And then we get into the Penumbral Plain, and there's quite a few sections in here. So beginning of the book, just to kind of check that out super fast. Yeah, we have Penumbral Plain, then we get into the gods more, then we get into the world of Tanares, which is a pretty actually big section because it goes from page 89 all the way to 211. And then you get the organizations of the world, history, which is probably a great one if you don't know anything about the world. It's probably a great one to get started with. And then the life in Tanares, just kind of explaining that world. And so that's what, chapter 8, I believe. Yeah, chapter 8. And then monsters at the end. So you can see a lot of, oh, there you go, Baronite Dragon Wormling. That guy looks pretty freaking awesome to me. So lots of content filled in this book. I mean, this should keep you very busy for quite some time. Here is the history of the world, and should be quite a good collection if you've been enjoying plenty of the things in the world of Tanares. This is pretty much everything you'll need about the world. And then the spectral ninjas, and then, oh yeah, and then the last section is the different magic items. So there's actually 10 chapters, and that includes some different magical items they came up with, and finally the index. So that is it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed that look here at Tanares RPG All In. There was a lot to go over, and I'll try to divide up this video so it's easier to parse later. But anyway, that is it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you at the next one.